Hey, what's up guys, this is Alex, and today I want to review a new library I got, which is CineHarps from CineSample. Of course, this is a harps library, and I wrote this one minute Final Fantasy sketch to just test this library a bit and see how it sounds and what it's capable of. And while this track doesn't really stretch the library to its utmost potential, I guess it's a good example. So let's hear the track first, and then I'm gonna tell you about this library and all the patches it comes in with and how it works, why it's awesome. But yeah, let's listen to the track first. So that's the short track I wrote, and yeah, it's a cover of Final Fantasy Prelude, which is like the main title of Final Fantasy theme that you hear in every Final Fantasy game, pretty much. And this type of arpeggio, fun fact, I use it, like whenever I make a Final Fantasy cover, I use this arpeggio somewhere. But yeah, this harp you heard is from CineHarps. Now, the reason why I love CineHarps so much is pretty much the same reasons why I love Cine String Solo. It's that, those patches, they are highly customizable. And in this case, you get, many types of patches. You don't only have one, concert harp and that's it. You get concert harp and many other types. So for example, here I used mostly like 3 types. I have the concert harp, which is the one playing the arpeggio. And it's actually 2 concert harps because you get 3 types of concert harps. And while the idea behind those patches is the same, it's just to have a harp that you can play. Those 3 concert harps are recorded in different ways, and the harps were different, so the sound is a bit different. So I used 2, one for the higher octave, one for the lower. Then I used the pad harp patch to do the melody. And as you hear, it sounds quite different from a normal concert harp. And then there is the bass harp, which I use for the bass. So the harps together sound something like this. And then I also use the Glissandi just in this part though, to lead to the next transition. That's like Glissandi. So this library, actually, I want to talk about it a little bit more to show you how it works. So as I said, it's a CineSamples library, which means that the graphical user interface is going to be similar to the other CineSamples. Like if you checked out my Cine string solo tutorial, you're gonna know exactly what this represents. If you don't, this is just here you have a mixer page and then a settings page. So in the mixer page, you have pretty much you can set the mic positions and stuff like that. Here, these sliders are pretty much the volume of the mics. Now you get a full mic position, or you can disable this and use close room to your liking and just find the setting that you prefer. But the cool thing about CineSamples library is that they come in with presets. So if you do not know how to use mic positions to make your what mic positions you should use and stuff like that, you can use these presets to get an idea. So yeah, and there is also this thing here. This is only, I think, with CineHarps, which is called the perspective preset. That kind of it has a slider, and if you go here, it's completely closed. And as you go right, it transitions. It shifts the microphones in such a way that the sound of the harp goes from closed to stage. So you pretty much can use this one if you're clueless to how you want your harp to sound, and you find the right balance for you. I just use the Tim's mix, which is like the default one. And yeah, so every patch I think has this mixer. And as I said, this library comes with multiple types of patches. So let's check them all out. The first one is actually, of course, the normal harp patch, but that normal patch has something already that I didn't see in other libraries. Again, CineSamples, I think they're great in the degree of customization that they allow you to have in your they allow you to have in your sound. So for example, this harp, if you go in the settings page, this is the basic patch. You have a few things. So the velocity curve allows you to determine how much velocity responsive your sound is, which is basic. Most libraries have that. But in here you have 3 modifiers. This one kind of determines how the release tail is handled. So there's if you set it to normale, you get a normal release. If you set it to muted, it's muted. If you set it to let vib, I think it's let vibrate, it leaves that tail going on forever. Sort of. Then there is round robin borrowing. I'm not sure what it does actually. And then there is the dynamic range, which is probably the most interesting to me, because this allows you to make your harp more or less expressive. So if I set this to low, for example, if I press to the maximum extent, it's still gonna be kind of low in terms of how powerful it sounds. But if I set this to high, you can play very soft notes and very loud too. So yeah, you can use this one to tweak how powerful or weak, or not powerful, but how dynamic you want your harp to sound. I set this to natural in my demo, but yeah, if you want your harp to have more life, you can just use this one. And you can also automate it. You can link this to, I don't know, the mod wheel, for example. So while you play, you can just make some parts more dynamic than others. So that's a degree of freedom that I don't see often in harps. For example, harps in, how's it called? In symphonic orchestra, which is very old, of course, are not so easily customizable in one single patch. For example, maybe you might have a patch which is soft and a patch which is super expressive. Here you have one patch that allows you to do everything in the same place without opening multiple patches, and you can just assign parameters to your mod wheel to make your harp sound like you want to. And then there is this Bliss mode, which is something I just found out about. So with Bliss mode, they allow you to play Glissandi very easily on the keyboard. And if you didn't know what Glissandi are, I mean stuff like this. pretty much. Now you have a patch which is like Glissandi and like it triggers samples, but which I'm gonna show you later. But now I want to show you this. So Gliss mode is a feature of the constant harp patches. If you enable it, you can then select, your key. Let's pick, I don't know, F sharp. Why not? And you can select, like if you want the key to be major or natural minor, etc. And this kind of changes the white keys in your keyboard. I mean, if I play my white keys, it's gonna play like if I play up a scale on my white keys, it's gonna play these notes here, which belong to the F sharp harmonic minor glissando. Like I only played the white keys here. And that's not how they're supposed to sound like, right? They just sound like the notes you see here. And you can even modify it if you want. And yeah, but it's just a shortcut to write your glissandi. You go here, you select your thing, that the scale you want. And then, yeah, pretty much that's what it does. So yeah, you can even link this to the mod wheel if you want, or to a MIDI control command. So again, you can just tweak your harp as you go with the MIDI control commands. So that's very powerful actually. And I personally don't use harps a lot in my tracks, but I see the possibilities this opens up if you instead want to use harps a lot. Now, other than the concert harp patches, we have the Glissandi patches, which is actually one patch, which allows you to trigger Glissandi by pressing one note. And yeah, I think there's like on the whole keyboard, like here you can set the Glissandi first. There are 3 types, like short, medium, and long. Then there's, all the different, like, harmonic minor, major, pentatonic, etc. All the scales and stuff that you can use for the Glissandi. And then I think on the whole keyboard, there's going to be 3 types of Glissandi for each note, I think. So if I play this C, I get this. If I play a higher C, it's the reverse. This is the longer version. And I have that for every note. Pretty much. And you can just select your mode here. I think there's also key switches to, these yellow key switches cannot determine short, long, medium, etc. The length, and the red determine which scale you're using. You also get the mic positions for the Glissandi, so you can create some nice sort of like pad sounds. So for example, if I do this, since I set it to ambient, now it sounds very wide. And I guess if you add reverb on top of this, it's gonna be crazy, I guess. Like, for example, if I add Valhalla Shimmer, I hope my computer doesn't explode. Let's set this to, 85, why not? So let's play a random Glissandi. That's pretty nice. But yeah, you can just mess around with this thanks to the mic positions and stuff. And yeah, then we have Harmonics, which is sort of the same, like it's sort of like concert harp, like the concert harp patch I showed you before, but it's played with harmonics. So yeah, it has quite a different sound, and it's kind of tweaked, I think, to sound even more, like even better and stuff like this. As you saw, like the release was set on Let Vibrate and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like if I put this to high, I'm gonna have higher dynamic range and stuff like that. It's the same thing, just the sound, the basic sound is changed. We also have xylophonics, which is another way of playing harp. Sounds like a pizzicato or something. But yeah, then we have noises like pedal buzz. Well, I guess this would be cool for sound design. Then there's bisbigliandi, which is another way of playing the harps, which is this. And yeah, there's actually multiple sets. We have 3 sets of Bisbigliandi. Cool. I guess this will be another of those sounds that will be great to play with reverb. To create atmosphere. Let's actually check it out again. Yeah, not bad. Maybe it needs a bit of EQing, but you can do interesting things with this library, even outside of the normal, harp domain, which is what I like. CineSamples library usually allow you to customize the sound in such a way that you really can do sort of sound design with the basic sounds that they provide. So yeah, good job for that, CineSamples. Then we have Scrape Effects. I think this will be cool for horror sound design. And we have Slide Effects. Yeah, just another way to play the harp. No Glissandi available here. Then we have other noises again. Yeah. This will be great for sound design. And then yeah, harp 2 and harp 3. It's just like the concert harp, but they have a different sound because they were recorded in a different way. Then you got the extra patches, which I mentioned before. This library is cool for sound design. They took notice of that and they created some presets for you to use. So we have harp pad. And as you see, it's already set on ambient. So that's partly why it sounds like this. If we change the mic position, it's going to have a different sound. But it's still not the same as the concert harp. So this is quite, like, the basic sound is different, and you can, tweak it with mic positions to make it sound even more like a pad, or you add reverb, and it's going to be amazing. Then we have the bass harp, which is like, by default, set to -12 semitones, so it sounds more like a bass than a harp. And I used it in my track as well as the harp pad. Then we have the sub pluck, which is the -24. Yeah, cable snaps, no idea what they are. I don't know. Then there's the harp dubstep, which is like, I'm not sure what they were thinking, but oh wait, sorry. So it's assigned to the mod wheel, like as I said here in parentheses, mod. So if you move the mod wheel, you kind of have the dubstep effect. And if you play this very fast, that I'm not able to do live, you're gonna have the type of sound, like a wobble. But yeah, I think this is just mostly like a joke, but it really shows you that this is one library that you can do quite a few things with. Then you have a sitar. I'm not a huge fan of this one. But yeah, and then you have a banjo. Yeah. Yeah, and then pretty much those are the patches you get with this library. Now, as you have seen, this allows you to customize your sounds quite a bit. And I would kind of use this in a fantasy context more. Like I would use it surely maybe for sound design, because some of the noise patches we saw before are quite interesting. But in terms of the actual harp, I think it belongs to like fantasy sort of tracks, like the forest soundtracks or Celtic music and stuff like that. I will use it for that, or mostly as a background element, because like in my epic orchestration, when I do epic orchestrations, I generally use harp in a very rare sort of way. I don't use them too much. Sometimes I use them, but as a background element. And I think I'm going to use CineHarps from now on. Now, this library is like $250. So I think you should get it if you really need a harp library that sounds expressive, because as you saw, you can really make this harp come to life. with the inner, like with the parameters that they give you. And yeah, you also have the multiple mic positions, which are great. Of course, it's not necessarily cheap, but the thing is that it costs so much because this is a quality product. And while it's only one instrument, it's done like the way they handled it is very like, it's probably the most customizable harp library I tried. And it was also recorded at Sony Pictures Studio, so that you also have that. And yeah, I would just get it if I were you, if I really needed a harp library, or if you write like fantasy music and stuff like that. This is going to be a game changer, because in those genres, the harp is really like the front of the track, kind of. It's very important. But if you just use it as a background element, I don't know, like you see for yourself if this is a priority or not. I don't think it's a priority in those cases, but if you write fantasy music, it kind of is. So yeah. Anyway, this will be all for the review. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments or go on CineSamples website. There are a couple demos on the CineHarps page, which are the fantasy type of music I'm talking about, which are much more like they use the harp much more than my demo here. So you get even a better idea of what it sounds like in a fantasy context. So yeah, do check out the website. The link is going to be in the description of this video. And if you have questions, feel free to ask me or CineSamples. And by the way, if you're new here, you might want to check out the rest of the channel, because I make lots of tutorials and reviews about orchestral music. So if you stick around here, you can learn quite a lot. So yeah, that would be all. I'll see you in the next one.